Hello, people, and welcome to another edition of A Dose of Drew here on Friday Night Knives. And tonight we are reviewing and comparing the Giantmouse Ace Tribeca in Magna Cut and blue linen micarta, and the new Atelier in Elmex and carbon fiber. I got the carbon fiber one. I thought I would like it. Couple of things on here. First off, doing a kind of a double review as well as a head-to-head. They're coming from the same company and they fill similar niches and are just different enough to be worth their own little sort of head-to-head as well as a review, because they're different enough to go. First things first, let's take a look at some objective measurements. As long as we got them both right here, they have similar blade lengths. They are under 3 inches at the cutting edge and under 3 and it is, if you look at the straight down, it is like right 3 inches right at that point. Atelier basically the same story. Little bit more cutting edge, just a hair, a bit less choil to go on the Atelier as well. Overall, for those who did not see it, right around 7 inches for the Tribeca and just under 7 inches for the Atelier. They're about the same size. These things are right in the Giantmouse wheelhouse. In fact, there's a couple of other things that they share. One, Giantmouse response to, do you do milling on the inside, seems to be, yeah, we make a lock bar. What do you mean? Because there's no milling on the Tribeca to lighten it up, and it is, we'll get to that in a minute, and there's no milling on the Atelier either, except for the lock bar, which on the Atelier, we'll get to that, it's not the greatest. There's areas of improvement on that one. But next things here, raw weight category. About 3 1/3 ounces for the Atelier, 3.8 for the Tribeca. Not that, you wouldn't think of it, the titanium versus the brass. I believe that's brass or bronze. I think that's brass. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. There's just a little bit, and you can feel it. The lightness in the Atelier definitely makes it a better feel to me. There's a lot to be said for the Tribeca. That the linen micarta on this is fantastic. I love the Magna Cut blade. I wish this was a titanium and milled out. I wish this was lighter. I know, look, right now, there just isn't a Giantmouse out there that has milling that I'm aware of. They're heavy knives, right? They're going to last a while, but they don't. Skeletonized liners are something that they prefer them with little meat on them. No skeletonized. They don't know. They don't seem to know what that. Actually, I know they know what it means because I have some other examples of it. But we'll just say they tend not to skeletonize anything. The previous favorite of mine from Giantmouse is this right here, the Biblio M390. You can get it in all sorts of stuff. Very, very cool. The Tribeca doesn't take the cake from it, though. It's really, really good, and the Magna Cut blade is nice. I'll get back to that in a minute. One of the things about here, for anyone who is astute and may have noticed, that is the Ace Grand. It is definitely the larger version of this knife, right? Or this is the smaller version of this one, to be more precise. Which, if you want a bigger knife and you need a more fuller hand space, or you have a larger hand to go with it, this is definitely the better option of the two, because it's really hard to get a full 4-finger grip on it like this. It's great for tucking in and having the 3. You have plenty of room and utilizing the choil. But back to our little bits here. First things first, just to give you an idea, the Paramilitary 2, definitely larger, and the Para 3, lightweight in this case. As you can see, they are both definitely closer to the Para 3 lightweight in both size and edge length, usable edge length particularly. They do tend to be a little bit lighter smaller in the pocket. We'll get to that in a moment. Just a blur. Interesting hand space comparisons. If you pull it out, it is very similar in hand space, while being somewhat shorter and maintaining that under 3 inches that a lot of people have. And not just any leak, but a random leak. Another 7-inch knife. That really shows just how small it is while giving that much blade right here. So, fantastic little bit. Slim. There you go. Oh, it's a couple others here. I think you guys are getting the picture, but we'll do just the other good. There is a bug out. And a Civivi Elementum. Much, much closer to the Elementum size, but the bug out shows that it has more edge but less hand space. Whereas the Civivi manages with a little bit less edge and similar hand space. So right in between those two, for those who know those knives. And of course, my Renar is at least the same size, if not thicker and better. So there you go. All right, guys. So there we go. Let's get into the damn nice part for the design. Look, Giantmouse is Jesper Rocknes and Jens Anso, and they do great freaking work. In fact, the Atelier is probably my new favorite Giantmouse. Slightly edging out, mostly on weight, the previous Biblio, as the Biblio is still a great EDC knife. It really, really is. It just does so many things well. But every single one of them, the Atelier does, and does at least as well, and has a couple of other bonuses when it comes to things like the scoring grip. And the smaller choil part on it actually provides a little bit of useful changes in grip. So I think it edges it out. I don't know if it edges out all the designs. And here's why. I'm going to bring this in, because when it comes to the design, you got to talk about who it is and what they've done. Because I have a couple of other favorites that are not edged out. And I'll get into that in a minute. One, this is really nice. I really wish it was lightened, a lightweight version of these. I know it can be done because the Fox Knives version of this Chillin has lots of milling in there that lightens it up considerably. And this is one of my favorite EDC knives currently, the M398 plain micarta version of this knife is a sleeper value, you guys. If you haven't seen my review, check it out. It's in the playlists. I'm not very good at linking down below. Hopefully you guys know how to work YouTube. I'm not as good at it. This is fantastic, and it does have lightning in it. This, also, the F5.5 from Urban EDC Supply. It's not a Giantmouse. Neither of these are Giantmouse. So this is why I'm not saying it's not my favorite. These aren't my favorite Giantmouse. They're just similar in design. This one is also lighter, the titanium. It is much more like the Atelier. And with the, it is an EDC beast. Very thick blade stock compared to, say, something like the Atelier, right? Very, very thick. So this starts to get the nod. Here's what I would love to see. And this is where the Tribeca really comes into play for me. Because I love the Atelier's lightness. I I actually like the openness of the grip on the Tribeca better, and the linen, the contouring, the overall shape and ergonomics of what I really wish is that this blade was flipped over. I really wish that it was this more Wharncliffe style that would be more reminiscent like that, you know? Oh, but that's not showing up on camera. You know, this is what I would really like. Not that it'll ever happen, or that I am someone to tell these guys how to do it, but that's what I really wish it was. The brass I really wish was titanium, milled out a lightweight version of the Tribeca. As it is, would definitely be in favor. The contouring and overall general shape makes it more useful to me, along with the less I want to say more belly, but this one's a lighter curve, a longer radius curve versus the shorter radius curve of the Atelier on there. I tend to not like this short radius where it really just turns up. In my EDC use, the long radius curves are more my style. But this is really just really heavy for the size. This is almost a quarter pound. It beats out the Biblio. Most definitely beats out the Biblio when it comes to weight. But, you know, for those who like the heft, the Biblio delivers on a small knife scale. You get quite a bit of knife for it. But one of the things you get is just no milling on the liners. And that's true of pretty much, I mean, this F5.5 is a Voxnays design, and it's basically not milled out either. This Fox Knives Voxnays does have, let me see if you can even see, there is a little bit of milling in there. You can see, maybe not, there you can see some of it. All right, let's go in here, you can see some, there's definitely some milling in there to help lighten it up, which is, my God, finally, finally someone said, hey, you know, we can put holes in there strategically that basically don't reduce the strength, but you lose a lot of weight. And they're like, okay, we'll give that a try. Because nothing else has it. All right, back to these. So there's where the design goes. It's really hard to argue with a Giantmouse design. These guys have some of the best designs out there. The ergonomics are always on point. The nitpickiness is only compared to each other. The other things you have to get into some really serious ergonomic masterpieces to start coming in, or just general designs that are known where you can get other scales like Spyderco's or something like that, where just the ergonomics are so incredible. So are these. Very well known, well deserved to be well known for it, and usually well executed. I have yet to see too many, maybe some early ones from Kershaw, back when Kershaw was having some production troubles and issues. Definitely happens. The aesthetics. This is such a personal thing. For me, the aesthetics of the Atelier give you that clip point harpoon. It gives you kind of that extra knifey knife vibe. I like the look of the blue linen. Whoever's where they're getting this from, this denim linen micarta is fantastic. I really wish this little tail thing was on. It doesn't affect anything ergonomically, which is really the important. It does not hang off the back. You can tuck it in, and it actually kind of helps when it's sitting on the back like there. It's not like an actual suitcase handle that pokes out. It's part of the overall shape, and then the rest of the handle dips out. So it does its job. It's not my favorite, but it doesn't really do anything for or against it ergonomically. In some situations, it can even be a little bit better. Other situations, worse. The choil is welcome. The Magna Cut is very welcome. Wish it was lighter. Again, titanium instead of brass would put the balance point closer to the point, closer to where you actually use it. I would love a Wharncliffe version where that blade is inverted. But then we get to the aesthetics of this. It just has that knifey knife feel, and it does a lot of EDC stuff very well. Elmex is a great steel. Almost as good at edge retention as M390, a little bit, approximately a little bit better corrosion resistance, a little bit better toughness, given the same heat treatment. Not a bad steel. Is it as MagnaCut? No. Does that make it a bad knife steel? No. It's one of the better pocket knife steels out there. It's one of the top. It's part of metallurgy steel with really high chromium content, good corrosion resistance, good edge retention, and decent toughness for that edge retention. MagnaCut, of course, is the current and probably long time reigning champ, where it has just really been able to hit a great balance, not only for pocket knives, but even for something like a kitchen knife. The corrosion resistance, toughness, and wear resistance of this steel lets it go all the way up to kitchen knife level, where you can actually get quite a bit of value, where you have something near like S35VN, SG2, or some of the highest edge retention steels in kitchen knives, better corrosion resistance than all of them, and toughness that's near 4V over. It's better than stuff like CPM 154, or at least matching it for the same bit. So yeah, it's the goods. A lot of Elmex is on this one, and for the, just to give it, M390 on this one. So they're well known for using lots of those steels, and they're even starting to come out with this M398, which is, if Elmex is the lower version of M390 when it comes to carbon and, carbides and wear resistance, M398 is the higher. It's about 8% vanadium. It is closer to S90V in its edge retention performance, with being a little, I would say, a little bit easier to sharpen, believe it or not. A little bit more chromium carbides in that one. High chromium content as well to do that. So yeah, it definitely works, takes a good fine edge. So they use good steel, and the aesthetics are out there. The mechanics, different things have, they use different manufacturers. You can usually tell when they use an Italian manufacturer because, this is probably made by Fox Knives as well, or at least one of the Maniago knife makers, but Fox Knives tends to do a lot. I could be wrong. But the crown spine does it, usually gives it away. Not that it doesn't any of this. They've had Riot do knives for them as well. So there's a lot to be said for that. The mechanics are always good. My personal thing with both of these knives is both on the deployment of the liner lock. It's probably my single only complaint on here. And it's both mechanics, because there's a double clutch, and you can see it right there. If you don't have your finger in the right place, I am probably almost a 1/4 inch down from the thing, and it's still not disengaging the knife. You have to go way down for it to disengage the knife, and then you can swap it shut. So there's a double clutch to it where you have to go way down. And if this is the only knife, you'll get used to it. If we're used to other knives, having to go on the bottom half to actually deploy the knife is kind of like, take the stupid jimping off the top half, would you please? There's no real point to it unless you slow roll it. Which then brings me to a similar problem, but with the Atelier, is that there's no lower part, but that's where you have to go to do it. Like, it has a similar double clutch problem, like you can't be right here. Luckily, it has a very, very quick breakover point, so it's right there, right? So just a little bit. There's a plenty of breakover room for the blade, but it's really hard to engage it and get your thumb out of the way because it's on that steep hill right there. There's room, but to move back, you have to go way down, and then it just ends where there's no flat part. So you have to get your thumb way down there. Luckily, it disengages just barely, but if you have bigger thumbs than me, you're going to have problems. You know, so that's probably my biggest complaint on both of them is that mechanically, the liner locks both have a little bit of issue. And that's where we get to the rest of the noteworthy points. This is a Giantmouse. This is the Ace line. It's supposed to be their affordable line. These are both a couple $100 each. They're very, very well made. The only reason this is their affordable line is the other stuff is like limited runs, special editions, limited editions, and collector's items where they don't do production runs of them. So this is really their production stuff. The Ace line is their production stuff that you can get fairly regularly and distributed widely. Always great materials, as we were saying, and you can be assured they're not inexpensive, but they deliver good value, which brings us the intended purpose. These are EDC knives. Always, always, always EDC knives. They're very maritime inspired from this. If you read the story on their website, they will tell you they have a lot of history in the Baltic, Swedish, Nordic regions. And their knives are often inspired by those designs. And they have a lot, they go for corrosion resistance, usability, heftiness. They do have a little, I complain about the weight in EDC, but they are also, they're not cheap, but they are built to last. They're built with the idea to be used. These aren't just wanker knives. They design them to be, sturdy, able to be used. While attention to detail is big, these are knives you can use for years. And they're intended to be so. They're intended to be usable knives that will deliver you years of performance so you can get the value out of that money you spent amortized over the course of the life of the knife. And that's really, really where the cost value part of this comes into thing. That's what the intended purpose of these knives are. So they're not cheap, but they're built well. They're always built well. They're built sturdily with good materials by well-earned reputable companies, almost always. And that really brings us to the rest of it, the expectations. I expected these to be good. What I was really hoping is they started to do a lightweight. And I really hope that they do start to do lightweight versions of these. They already sell pretty much every knife they can make. But a lightweight version would be fantastic because that's really what makes the Atelier, for me, the better knife, is its lighter weight. It is entirely the lighter weight, the balance that is more closer to the pivot, the ability to maneuver it better. The materials, I would love to like the Magnica better. It's just too heavy. It's too heavy. I would love to see this be titanium instead of brass. I'm sure they have versions of it. I didn't get that one. There's a G10 version of this as well. But I would love to see this be like titanium, some milled out parts. And honestly, I love this blade shape, but especially when you see some of the other things like, is it already? It's not quite a reverse. Not quite a reverse, but it's almost. And maybe that's why it's a little bit different, but it is almost a reverse biblio. Maybe that's why I like the idea of it being upside down, an upside down one so much. Because I am also used to that style of knife from them. The much more worn foot sheet cleaver thing instead of the harpoon and stuff. But the drop point is fantastic. It's just not my favorite of the two. It's heavy and well built. It is absolutely fantastic. And I was expecting it to be kind of so. I was hoping it would be not that. I was hoping it would be much more like this, where it would be a lighter, more nimble version of some of their other stuff, but it just wasn't to be, which is where the Atelier then comes in. I do have, as you saw, an Ace Grand. This is a good knife, and the Atelier is a much better EDC option for me. It's lighter weight. It's just over 3 ounces. You got about a 3-inch blade. It does all the EDC stuff good. Elmex steel is absolutely, positively fine. It is one of the best steels you can put on a pocket knife. Like I said, just under edge retention, M390, probably a little bit better corrosion resistance as well as a little bit better edge stability or toughness. So not quite Magna Cut, but it is by no means a slouch. And again, if there was any requests, lightweight versions. Can you guys, man, I know they can mill stuff out. I know they know how. I know that you've done it on at least one knife. Can you guys please like go look at the Eiffel Tower or something and figure out the skeletonization thing? Like, can you give us a little break here, please? That's my request. If it's the damn nicer, is the request would be a lightweight version, man. Look, obviously I'm a fan. I'm gonna buy it. Like, come on, give me. This is my favorite design from Vox Knives right now. Right now, this is my favorite one ever, and part of it is because it is lightweight and nimble and is balanced right where the pivot is, so I can utilize it. It's based on a great design and timeless design, and it is well executed. Can I get some milling? That's basically where I'm at. And that's where I'm going to kind of drop this off, you guys, is in the competition between these two, I actually like the Atelier better. If you are not as concerned about weight, and especially things like grip or anything like that, then yeah, the Tribeca is fantastic, you guys. It is well executed. For me, it's the Atelier, but only because of the use case and the weight. I really wish this one was lightened up a little bit. It would definitely take it for me in a lot of ways. But as it is, versus what could be, wish in one and poop in the other, you see which one fills up first. So that as it sits, the Magna Cut is great, but on a day-to-day basis, the Atelier is one that I put in my pocket more. So that's how it wins this little competition. Both of these are great knives. I would still recommend them over many, many other knives. They are good values for the money, always well made, always supported. I've never had a problem with Giantmouse support, and they are extraordinarily well designed and executed. The mechanics are flawless, except for me, each one has just this little bit of weirdness in the liner lock. But it does give each knife a little bit of personality. It does make you think about the knife you're having. It's never anything you can't deal with, right? It does sometimes cause a little bit of issue. I haven't lubed these. These are both stock, dry, and used. And they've done really good. There's a little bit of markup on them simply from cutting some boxes and stuff. The Magna Cut is fantastic. It seems well done. Has not needed anything. Fantastic edge as always. Never had a problem with the factory edge on any Giantmouse knife. They're always great. And yeah, so yeah, 4, maybe 4.5 stars. Like I said, it's really a use case and a personal thing. If you don't care about the weight, these are absolutely fantastic. And the Tribeca actually kind of takes the cake. The taller blade, the flatter grind. It's I would say a slightly thinner blade stock. So it's slicier, more rounded in there. There's a lot of ergonomic reasons to like the Tribeca if you can handle the weight. Like I said, a lightweight version of the Tribeca stomps every other Giantmouse out there right now. They'll just put it. You give me something at 3 ounces or somewhere between 3 and 3 1/4 ounces. You mill out half an ounce out of that sucker, and I'll buy 3 of them. Like, give me that knife. I'll buy versions of it like I do honey badgers. I mean, come on, this thing is awesome, except it's so heavy. And so that's kind of where it sits. I can't not recommend it. They're fantastic knives if you can afford them. They're a couple $100. You're going to be the Atelier. I think is you can get the micarta versions out there right now for just around $215, and I believe the Tribeca is approximately the same price. So they're very similar in price, and it really is what you like. If you really have to have the Magna Cut of the day, you know, you're not going to be disappointed by the Tribeca. If you're definitely concerned about weight, one of the lightest Giantmouses so far is the Atelier. And it doesn't fail to deliver on the Giantmouse brand. Both winners, in my case, the overall winner is the Atelier. I could get another again, like I said, I could get another version of it, and I would be happy with it too. The micarta would be fantastic. You can dye it and change it and do all sorts of stuff, especially if you're going to use it as the hard use knife that it is capable of being. The liner lock may be a deal breaker for some, especially at this price point. They each require a little bit of adjustment. Does it not work? No, it works great. In fact, if you're using it two-handed, if you're not trying to do the break over and do it, you're great. If you can, right, do that and then just get it in, you can always do it. If you do it slow, it's not really an issue. And the deployment hole always makes it nice. It's only if you're trying to shake it down that it really becomes an issue. So it's a little bit of adjustment, but once you get it there, it's a very deliberate movement. So it's, but yeah, it's an interesting little quirk, and it does give them personality. Okay. The Tribeca may be for you if the weight doesn't matter. If you're like me and the weight is indeed a factor, the Atelier takes it for me. Otherwise, they're both great knives, easily recommendable, 4.5 stars. Whichever one is better suited to you is probably the 4.5 star version. How's that for you? All right, you guys, thanks so much for being a part of this. This has been your dose of Drew. I am said Drew. Go ahead, take this video, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects. Remember to like and subscribe. I am said Drew, and you guys have a great rest of your night.